Hi and welcome to the Fade to Light Check It Make Along. Today we are having the first part or pre-part of the make along, and we will talk about the yarn and about the gauge. If you haven't seen the pictures of the jacket I've made, you can click the link in the description for this video and you will see all different color combinations we have made together with our testers team. You will see different colors, different sizes, how they fit. You will find information about the yarn amounts, the sizing, the measurements of the actual bust, how to choose your own size, and just everything you need to know to begin with the make along. And in this video, I would like to show you the yarn I used for my own jacket, and we will talk about the gauge. So the yarn, Fade to Light jacket pattern was written exclusively for the Schripjes Whirl Fine Art yarn in combination with Merino Soft yarn, also by Schripjes. These are two yarns which have exactly the same composition. Let's have a look. It's 50% superfine merino and in combination with acrylic and microfiber. This is, I would say, luxury yarn, very soft, feels very natural, silky, stretchy, very nice against the skin. If you don't have allergy to wool, I would definitely recommend to look into this yarn for the Fade to Light jacket. Whirl Fine Art is yarn with long color changes. You can see the colors are nice, change from one shade through different shades to another one. And Merino Soft is solid yarn, and you should choose the matching colors. So if you have a look at this inner tail of the whirl, you will see that it's exactly the same match for the solid shade. These are the colors which were chosen by one of the ladies who helped me to test the pattern. Her name is Sandra Eneman, and you can find the picture of her jacket on my blog. So this is one of the options for the Fade to Light jacket make along. Another option is to replace whirl with another yarn by Schripjes, which is called Merino Soft Brush. This is again exactly the same composition, the same feel, but different look. It's a kind of solid, but not the solid at the same time yarn with shades of other different colors. This is color called Torop, and one of another ladies who helped me with the pattern, Laura Jackson, she chose these two colors for her jacket. So you can replace Whirl Fine Art with Merino Soft Brush. One cake will be replaced with 5 balls, and if you use 2 cakes for your size, you will need 9 balls of Merino Soft Brush. So these are the yarns I used for my jacket. They are DK weight. I used 4.5 millimeters hook, which gives nice airy drape and like light feel the jacket. So please have a look at these yarns. You will find links to the retailers on my blog. You can have a look at the colors. The colors are really very nice, and you'll have different options to choose from. These are the yarn I would like to show you, and now we will talk about the gauge. The gauge is something which sound a little bit scary to someone who never made a crochet garment, clothing. You will see the gauge in every crochet pattern. If you are making a blanket or a pillow or I don't know, socks, shawls, you will always see the gauge. The gauge means how many stitches fit in 4 inches in width and 4 inches in the height. So basically the gauge gives you an idea of your final size. In crochet garment, it is vitally important to meet the gauge. So before you start making the Fairlight jacket, please read the gauge information on my blog, make a gauge swatch, the same as I have here, and measure it. You need exactly the same gauge. If your gauge is off either for width or for the height, your final measurements for the Fairlight jacket will be different, and your jacket will be either too small or too big. And of course, if it's too big, you will also use more yarn than is given in the pattern. This is why the gauge is important. For the Fairlight jacket, the gauge stitch pattern is the same as you will use to begin the yoke. So this is the yoke stitch pattern. It is very simple. It only has singles in American crochet terms and chains, or double crochets in the UK, DK, and chains. So they are basically just the singles or doubles and chains and nothing else. The singles or doubles go into the singles of previous row, and the chains stay over the chains from previous row. I have already made the gauge swatch, but I will show you one row of how it is done. So you chain one and you make a single or double in the first stitch, chain one, skip the space, this small hole, and make the single or double into the next stitch, and you repeat this all the way across. So this is the stitch pattern for the yoke and for the gauge swatch. Very easy. When you will be making the gauge swatch, please try not to pull too much and not to work too tight, because Arena Soft or Merino Soft brush yarn is quite stretchy. So it means that if you work too tight, your gauge swatch will be too tight and it's not blocking really well. It's so stretchy that even if you block it, it will come back after the block. So your goal is to reach the gauge without the blocking, or with a very slight blocking. So your gauge swatch is your actual gauge you will be having in your Fade to Light jacket. I will pull off this row, and now we will measure our gauge swatch. So I made as per pattern. You will find the instructions on my blog. Again, the link is in the description for this video. I made 29 stitches per 25 rows, and the actual gauge is 20 stitches and 18 rows in 4 inches. So this swatch is bigger than the gauge. We made it on purpose because it's always better to make the bigger gauge swatch and to make the measurement inside the gauge swatch so that you have a better idea. So if we measure this gauge swatch, you can see that it's 15, it's not inches, it's centimeters by 14, and we need 10 by 10 or 4 by 4 inches. So what we need is to find a single or double stitch somewhere on the edge, but not on the edge. Let's say here we have a, I will try to zoom in so that you see it clearly. So we will find a stitch. For example, here we have a single, double in the UK crochet terms. We will put 0 here, and we need 10 centimeters, so it will end somewhere here. You see 10. We just take one row, let's say from here, one row to here. When we count the stitches, we should always remember that every chain space, the small hole, is also a stitch. So we will count the chain spaces as the stitches. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So it ends here. And it's exactly 10 centimeters. So I'm good for the width. And let's see the height. These are the rows, and these are like the stitches we counted, and now we will count the rows. Counting the rows is easier because every single goes into singles, so we will just need to find a straight line of singles here, for example, and we will measure it. So again, we need to find a top of the single stitch. Here it is. And we need 10 centimeters or 4 inches down. So it's somewhere here. Yes. Okay, so we'll count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And we are perfect for the height. You see, I didn't really stretch my gauge swatch to make the measurement because, as I mentioned already, this yarn is stretchy itself, and it tends to shrink and to come back after blocking. So it's better to make an ideal gauge swatch from the very start. If you need to stretch it, just really slightly. If your gauge is not ideal, like 1 stitch off, that's okay, because it can be stretched a little bit. But if it's off like 2 stitches, it's bad, because your jacket will be much bigger than you want it to be. I'm quite often asked if we need the exact gauge both for the width and for the height, and I say yes, we need exact gauge both for the widths. It will give us the right widths in the bust of our jacket, and the rows are also very important because we will be building the raglan increases on the yoke, and if your rows are off, like you have less or more rows in 4 inches, then the raglan increases will not be growing correctly, and you can have the bumps, or you will need to add extra rows for the yoke. It's adjustable, so if it's a little bit off, that's okay. We will be adjusting it as we go, but please try to meet the gauge from the very start. Okay, so this is everything I wanted to show you. And on Friday we will meet again, and we will start making our fade to light jacket, and we will talk about the short row.